Hello everyone. Welcome to Bio-Techne webinar on validating single-cell RNA sequencing results with MILO and RNAscope. The content for this webinar will be covered by two speakers, Dr. Suruchi Arora and Dr. Amrita Roy. Dr. Arora is the product manager for Southeast Asia and Australia, New Zealand and Bio-Techne. She is based out of Singapore and has been with the company for the past 3.5 years. She manages product applications and marketing for Bio-Techne brands like Protein Simple, R&D Systems, Novus, and Turquoise. Today, she will tell us how MILO single-cell Western technology can provide protein-level validation of heterogeneity among individual cells uncovered by single-cell RNA-seq. I am Amrita Roy, field application scientist from Southeast Asia, India, and Australia, New Zealand at Bio-Techne. I'm associated with Bio-Techne for the past 2 years and based out of Singapore. I manage the applications and marketing for Bio-Techne brand Advanced Cell Diagnostics. In today's webinar, I'll cover how RNAscope single molecule FISH can be used to validate single cell RNA-seq data at the mRNA level, enabling spatial mapping to determine localization of cells with particular phenotypes. Before we begin, I'd like to let everyone know that the audience will be automatically muted for the duration of the webinar. If you have a question, please use the Q&A function on the right of the WebEx window. Please address your questions to all panelists, and my colleagues will respond to your queries in real time. In the event we are unable to get to your question, we will follow up with you offline after the webinar. And this webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand. So let's begin with the first topic of today's webinar, validating single-cell RNA sequencing results with RNAscope technology. For the quick overview of the contents, I'll begin with an overview of the single-cell analysis, followed by the incorporation of RNAscope technology as a validation tool of single-cell RNA-seq results. And finally, I'll discuss some application examples from the published articles. I'll then hand over to Dr. Suruchi, who will cover about the single-cell Western technique as a validation tool for single-cell analysis. Complex, highly heterogeneous tissues such as brain, tumors, as well as processes such as embryonic development are comprised of multiple cell types and states. Precise transcriptomic characterization or single-cell RNA sequencing of these tissues can enable identification of new cell types, predict biomarkers to develop new therapeutic strategies. Therefore, single-cell analysis provides a higher resolution of cellular differences and a better understanding of the function of an individual cell in the context of its microenvironment. However, interrogation of the single-cell RNA-seq data from these complex heterogeneous tissues requires a highly sensitive, specific, and multiplex spatial approach with single-cell resolution. This is a schematic of single-cell transcriptome studies from 10x Genomics, which utilizes dissociated single cells and capture them into oil droplets, where the cell is lysed and the whole cell transcriptome information is read. As a result, the spatial organization of the cell population in the tissue context is lost. Validation and spatial mapping of single-cell analysis can be obtained using assays that retain spatial organization, such as RNAscope technology, which is the most sensitive RNA in situ hybridization platform currently. Traditional transcriptomic analysis have relied on bulk tissue analysis, such as PCR, which provide an average level of gene expression in a sample, but loses the spatial and single-cell information. This is akin to a fruit smoothie, which can be a delicious drink, but you can only guess at what is in the smoothie. The advent of single-cell transcriptomic analysis, such as single-cell RNA sequencing, have now been able to provide molecular information at a single-cell level. And to come back to the fruit analogy, can now provide you the menu and tell you what fruit and how much of each fruit went into that smoothie. However, these techniques still don't provide you with how these cells are organized in the tissue context. And this is where spatial analysis comes into play. Single-cell multiplex spatial analysis that detect RNA can provide transcriptomic information with spatial organization while retaining single-cell resolution. So now, instead of an average blended smoothie with mystery ingredients, you can see all the fruit and how they are arranged spatially. Validation and spatial mapping of single-cell analysis can be obtained using assays that retain spatial organization, such as RNAscope technology. The multiplexing capabilities of RNAscope technology, coupled with its high signal-to-noise ratio, enable single-cell and single-molecule detection of transcript within tissue context, providing confirmation of high-throughput single-cell transcriptomic results, as well as adding spatial information to these datasets. Applications of incorporating the RNAscope technology into single-cell workflows include spatially mapping of a cell atlas, visualize gene signature of newly identified cell subtypes, classify highly heterogeneous cell types, confirm new therapeutic cell types, characterize an immune landscape, identify new immunotherapy targets, analyze or predict response to drug treatments, as well confirm publicly available datasets. So now, what is this RNAscope technology? The RNAscope technology consists of three parts: a unique target probe that ACDs designs against your sequence of interest, signal amplification system that generates a high signal-to-noise ratio, and lastly, visualization of single RNA molecules as punctured dots, which enables quantification. The assay allows for the spatial mapping of any mRNA, long non-coding RNA, splice variants, and highly homologous sequences in cells and intact tissues, all of which can be visualized with either fluorescent or chromogenic labels. The assay can be performed on a wide variety of sample types, including paraffin tissues, fresh frozen or fixed frozen tissues, and cultured cell lines. The two key features of the RNAscope technology are probe design and signal amplification. The oligonucleotide target-specific probes are depicted as Zs to emphasize the fact that they have two regions linked by a spatial. The bottom of the Z complement hybridizes to the target transcript, and that is why it is called the target binding site, while the top of the Z is the base for the amplification structure, and it is called as pre-amplifier binding site. When two Zs hybridize in tandem to the target sequence, it creates a binding site upon which a pre-amplifier can bind, and the amplification tree can be built. After the Z pairs hybridize with the target RNA, the pre-amplifier binds to the top of the double Z pair. Each pre-amplifier can bind to multiple amplifiers, and each amplifier can further bind to multiple label probes. Label probes contain either a chromogenic enzyme or a fluorophore that generates a signal detectable under a standard bright field microscope or fluorescent microscope. This signal amplification strategy yields high sensitivity and allows for visualization of target RNAs as a single dot, where each dot represents an individual RNA molecule that can be quantified. Background is eliminated because the signal is dependent on two Z's binding next to each other on the target sequence. If both Z's do not bind next to each other, the preamplifier cannot form a stable hybridization and the amplification tree does not get built. Consequently, no amplification of non-specific hybridization occurs, generating little or no background signal. Taken together, this combination of probe design and signal amplification ensures a high signal-to-noise ratio. ACD has two product lines, namely RNAscope and BaseScope. RNA targets which are longer than 300 nucleotides are visualized by RNAscope probes. These probes usually consist of 20 double Z oligo pairs pulled together. Shorter RNA targets, which are in between 50 to 300 base pairs, are visualized using BaseScope probes, which are usually 1 to 3 double Z oligo pairs pulled together. Both product lines are available as singleplex and multiplex on manual as well as automated platforms. Here is a brief overview of the RNAscope workflow. RNAscope assay is a slide-based assay and is intended for use on sample types similar to that used in immunohistochemistry or immunofluorescence. The assay starts with permeabilizing the samples with reagents provided in the pretreatment kit. The pretreatment enables unmasking of the RNA target, thus allowing the probe to penetrate into the cell and hybridize with the target RNA sequence. The probe is a pool of double Z oligo pairs that are designed using our established bioinformatics algorithm, which allows for target specificity. A series of amplification cascade then amplifies the signal, and RNA molecules are then visualized under the microscope as punctured dots, where each dot represents an individual RNA molecule. The signal can then be quantified semi-quantitatively or quantitatively using different image analysis softwares. ACD provides recommended sample preparation protocol for most commonly used sample types, such as FFPE or paraffin sections, fresh or fixed frozen tissue sections, and cultured adherent and non-adherent cell lines. If one is working with unique sample types, such as whole mount, free-floating, or bone, please feel free to contact ACD Bio for suggestions and guidance. Quantification of RNAscope and BaseScope data is possible with good quality images at preferably 40x resolution. This can be done in both semi-quantitative or quantitative approach. Semi-quantitative analysis, it can be performed following the scoring guidelines from ACD. Quantitative analysis can be done using high-end third-party software such as Halo from Indica Labs or by open source software such as ImageJ and Cell Profiler. ACD technical notes and webinars are available to guide on the data analysis part. This slide here summarizes all the assays that are currently available from ACD. We have chromogenic singleplex brown or red assay and duplex assay on both manual and automated platform. The multiplex fluorescent assays allows to detect up to 4 targets simultaneously in a single tissue section for paraffin sections or up to 12 targets for fresh frozen or fixed frozen sections. The major difference between the two fluorescent assays is the V2 assay uses TSA fluorophores from Parking-Elmer or Akoya Biosciences for signal visualization and provides a high signal-to-noise ratio, whereas the fluorescent multiplex assay is an all-in-one kit where the fluorophores are supplied with the kit. If your target of interest is shorter than 300 base pairs, it is below RNAscope detection limit, and BaseScope would be the right choice of assay for you. Currently, BaseScope is available as singleplex or multiplex on both automated and manual platforms. Last year, we launched our RNAscope HiPlex assay, which is also a multiplex fluorescent RNAscope assay that allows for detection of up to 12 targets simultaneously on the same tissue section. And this is also an all-in-one kit. This year, we would be launching a specific assay to detect smaller RNAs like microRNA, siRNA, and antisense oligos. The new MIRNAscope assay will soon be available commercially. For more information, please reach out to your local ACD contact. Looking at the global pandemic situation, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to highlight the RNAscope tools for COVID-19 research. Given here is a list of RNAscope probes which are now made available to study the pathophysiology of SARS-CoV-2 virus. The viral detection probes target the sense or antisense region of the SARS-CoV-2 transcripts. This probe specifically detects the spike protein of this novel coronavirus and avoid cross detections to SARS, MERS, other coronavirus, Ebola virus, and HIV. These probes can be used to study localization or infiltration as well as active multiplication of the virus within tissue context. We also have probes for host cell markers that have shown to be essential and aid in the entry of the virus and facilitate the course of infection. The inflammatory response markers are cytokines that were shown to be infiltrated in the lung tissues of patients with severe form of infection or showed signs of acute respiratory disease syndrome. Spatial visualization of these immune markers with RNAscope available probes allows researchers to identify the immune landscape at the site of infection. Finally, RNAscope probes for the histopathological markers can be used to study the functionality and homeostasis of the lung, which is said to be the primary organ affected by the onset of SARS-CoV-2 infection. More probes are being made available with growing clinical knowledge of the viral pathogenesis. If you are interested in probes that are not listed in this table, please reach out to me or the local team for further information. Now I'll switch gear and back to the mainstream. The RNAscope technology has been widely used for numerous technical and research applications for both academic institutions as well as biopharma companies. For today's webinar, I'll focus on the validation and spatial mapping of high throughput data, namely single cell RNA sequencing data with RNAscope. I would first like to show you some examples of RNAscope used to complement cell atlases generated by single cell RNAseq. Vagal sensory neurons are necessary for the control of organ functions such as cardiopulmonary and gastrointestinal systems. But knowledge on the complexity of neuron types involved is missing until researchers at the Karolinska Institute present a comprehensive identification, classification, and validation of the neuron types in the jugular and nodose-derived vagal ganglia by using RNAscope technology. 25 different RNAscope probes were used to not only validate neuronal types identified, but also to quantify the relative proportions of these neurons. Here we show some of the representative data interrogating the nodose vagal neurons. The Human Cell Atlas, led by Sarah Heckman, published this seminal paper in Nature Medicine describing a cell atlas of the human healthy lung as well as the asthmatic lung. With regards to asthma, using more than 25,000 cells from healthy and asthmatic lungs, they revealed mucus cell hyperplasia in the asthmatic lung. The multiplexing capabilities of RNAscope fluorescent assay allowed for confirmation of a strong increase in mucus-ciliated cells in the asthmatic lung by detecting co-expression of MUC5AC, a secretory marker, and FOXJ1, a ciliated cell marker, in the same cells as indicated by the white arrows in the image on the bottom right. The Cell Atlas initiative in the normal and disease states have now empowered researchers to combine single-cell analysis with spatial analysis for various pathologies. Let me show you a couple of examples. Last year in Nature, 2 studies profiling the single-cell transcriptome of the mouse and human airway epithelium identified a new cell type that could be linked to cystic fibrosis. While generating cell atlas of the mouse and human lungs, these authors also identified a new airway epithelial cell type that expresses both FOXI1 and CFTR. CFTR is a gene that is mutated in cystic fibrosis patients and is responsible for transporting chloride ions out of the cell, a process that is impaired in cystic fibrosis patients, and that leads to mucus covering the cells. They term these FOXI1 and CFTR dual positive cells as pulmonary inocytes because they seem to be involved in transporting ions across lung tissue. Molecularly characterizing this new cell type could aid in identifying the appropriate cellular target for cystic fibrosis gene therapy. So this is the first study from the Broad Institute and Massachusetts General Hospital. The authors generated a single-cell atlas of mouse tracheal epithelium in which they identified functional variations in club cells based on their location. A distinct cell type in high turnover squamous epithelial structures that they termed hillocks, and disease-relevant subsets of Traft and goblet cells. They also discovered a rare cell type, the FOXI1 plus pulmonary inocyte, that is also the major source of CFTR in both mouse and human airway epithelium. Then they went on to show that knockout of FOXI1 in mouse inocytes caused loss of CFTR expression and disrupted airway fluid and mucus physiology. This phenotype is characteristics of cystic fibrosis. To validate the single-cell data, they used RNAscope multiplex fluorescent assay, and indeed they identified the rare FOXI1 and CFTR dual positive cells in human bronchi, indicated as co-staining of the green and magenta color in the right image inset. Now, in the second study from Novartis and Harvard, researchers performed on single-cell profiling of human bronchial epithelial cells and mouse tracheal epithelial cells to obtain an unbiased comprehensive census of cell types in the conducting airway. Unexpectedly, they also identified the same novel rare cell type that they call the pulmonary inocyte, which co-expresses FOXI1 and CFTR. RNAscope was used to validate that both mouse and human inocytes co-express FOXI1 and CFTR, as shown by the co-localization of the green and red signal in the left image panel. In addition, RNAscope assay also demonstrated that CFTR was highly enriched in FOXI1 positive cells, but not FOXJ1 positive cells, as evident by the white arrows on the top right image panel. They went on to show that notch signaling is necessary and FOXI1 expression is sufficient to drive the production of pulmonary inocyte, and that the pulmonary inocyte is a major source of CFTR activity in the conducting airway epithelium, which could better inform therapeutics for cystic fibrosis. While the brain and the many other organs have been analyzed by single-cell techniques in numerous studies, the highly heterogeneous tumor and its microenvironment is quickly becoming a top sample to examine at single-cell level. Researchers at the Broad Institute dissected the cell types in IDH mutant gliomas by combining single cell RNA-seq profiles of more than 14,000 cells from 16 patients with bulk RNA-seq profiles from 165 glioma patients. They found an increase in macrophage over microglia expression programs in the tumor microenvironment as tumor grade progresses. RNAscope-ish validated single-cell RNA-seq results and demonstrated that inter-tumor variability in microglia or macrophage states correlated with tumor grade, showing that cells from higher grade tumors were preferentially associated with macrophage-like expression states. For instance, the tumor MGH56 is a lower grade tumor and has few microglia and no macrophages, whereas tumor MGH42 is a grade 4 glioma and contains only macrophages. However, RNAscope revealed that tumor MGH43, an intermediate grade 3 tumor, contains cells co-expressing the microglia marker CX3CR1 and also macrophage marker CD163. By shedding light on the cellular composition of the IDH mutant gliomas, these data could aid in the design of immunotherapies targeting gliomas. Cancer-associated fibroblasts or CAFs are a major constituent of the tumor microenvironment in many cancers. However, morphology remains the most common way to distinguish CAFs, as molecular markers are neither all-encompassing nor specific. This suggests that CAF may be a diverse group of cells made up of several subtypes. A group of researchers utilized single-cell RNA-seq to delineate the heterogeneity of 768 CAFs isolated from the genetically engineered mouse model of breast cancer. The authors defined 4 transcriptionally diverse populations of CAFs: the vascular gene signature CAFs, which are the V CAFs, extracellular matrix gene signature CAFs, which are the M CAFs, cell cycle gene signature CAFs, which are the C CAFs, and developmental gene signature CAFs, which are the D CAFs. Each subpopulation was discriminated by different gene expression programs representing different functionality and unique spatial location within the tumor parenchyma, as identified by the RNAscope assay. For example, using ISH for VCAP mRNA marker Notch3 and KCNJ8 in combination with immunofluorescence for the vascular protein marker NEAD2 revealed that vascular CAFs are localized predominantly near the vasculature. Furthermore, CAF subpopulations are distinct with no overlap in signal between extracellular matrix CAFs or MCAFs and vascular CAFs or VCAFs. This study revealed a previously unappreciated functional diversity within the tumor microenvironment that can aid in further development of tools for precision medicine. I'd like to emphasize a unique feature of RNAscope technology here. While detecting the VCAP markers Notch3 and KCNJ8, an antibody was used for staining the marker NEAD2 protein. So one can stain both RNA and protein with the antibody of choice using the RNAscope technology. And this special feature is called as dual-ish IF or IHC, which is a great way to help further characterize cellular gene expression. What we refer to as dual-ish IHC or IF can be used to characterize cell type specific expression, identify origin of secretory proteins, visualize cell surface markers with RNA of interest, visualize RNA binding proteins and their target RNAs, and dissect regulation of gene expression. Because of the similar workflows between in situ hybridization and immunohistochemistry or immunofluorescence, including sample fixation, pretreatment, probe hybridization, signal detection, and data analysis, ISH and IHC are ideal to combine into one workflow, in which our RNAscope ISH assay is performed first, followed by the immunohistochemistry or immunofluorescent assay. We do have some recommendations to ensure success with your dual-ish IHC or dual-ish IF assay. First, all dual-ish IF or IHC protocols require optimization, In general, it is recommended to combine a working RNAscope protocol with a working IHC protocol. In addition, work with antibodies and a protocol that are known and already established with your tissue samples. Second, it is advisable to perform in situ hybridization first, followed by immunofluorescence or immunohistochemistry. Third, it is advisable to optimize the immunohistochemistry or immunofluorescence assay separately using the RNAscope pre-treatment reagents to ensure your protein can still be detected following RNAscope pre-treatment. Lastly, the dual-ish IHC or IF assay works better for highly expressed proteins due to protease treatment that is used during the ISH protocol. The last research area I would like to highlight is single-cell spatial analysis from stem cells and development. During hemostasis, LGR5 crypt cells drive turnover of the intestinal epithelium. However, even though LGR5 positive cells are lost during injury, the epithelium can still recover. Therefore, an additional population of quiescent stem cells must exist to drive epithelial renewal in response to injury. Researchers at Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto used single-cell RNA-seq sequencing to profile the regenerating mouse intestine and identify a novel stem cell population termed revival stem cells or REV stem cells and shown as cluster SSC2. They found these stem cells were enriched for genes involved in cell survival, such as clustering. During hemostasis, CLU-expressing cells are rare and distinct from LGR5 positive cells. And in response to irradiation, the number of CLU-positive epithelial cells expands. So the authors use RNAscope multiplex assay and that revealed that rare CLU-positive cells in normal intestinal crypt are distinct from LGR5 positive cells, and that there is a significant increase in CLU-positive cells in the damaged intestinal crypt as evident by the increase in green signal in the right panel insets. Furthermore, the researchers identify YAP1, a transcriptional regulator, as important for regeneration of the intestinal epithelium. During intestinal regeneration after injury, YAP1 induces reversal stem cells that will create new LGR5 positive cells and thereby restore the epithelium. Single-cell RNA-seq revealed that the YAP1 gene signature was present exclusively in the SSC2 cluster. And deletion of YAP1 in the intestinal epithelium suppressed emergence of endogenous CLU-positive cells, as demonstrated by dual RNAscope-ish immunofluorescence by the absence of magenta signal on the lower image panel. The growth and adoption of the RNAscope technology is best exemplified by the number of peer-reviewed publications. Since our first publication in 2011, there has been an increasing awareness of our technology, and currently we have over 2,800 plus peer-reviewed papers published in numerous journals, including many top-tier ones. Also, the technology is highly relevant across multiple fields of research, with over 40% of the publications in cancer research. Neuroscience and infectious disease are among the two popular fields of interest. The incorporation of the RNAscope technology into the single-cell RNA sequencing workflow is demonstrated through the rapid growth of publications using the assay to confirm and spatially map single-cell RNA-seq data within the tissue context. Over 80% of these single-cell papers are into a very high-impact publishing houses such as Nature, Science, and Cell. So, in summary, RNAscope uses a unique probe design strategy to minimize cross-reactivity in order to achieve high specificity. Currently, we have over 26,000 catalog probes, but new probes can be designed and made within 2 weeks for any target and any species. RNAscope provides higher sensitivity by improving the signal-to-noise ratio with the sequential amplification strategy. and optimized assay conditions. For both RNAscope and BaseScope assays, quantification is possible using semi-quantitative and quantitative approach. RNAscope assay has unique multiplexing capabilities with up to 2 RNAs for chromogenic platform and 12 RNAs for fluorescence platform. The BaseScope can detect splicing variants and short sequences down to 50 nucleotides. RNAscope assay can be complemented by IHC, immunohistochemistry, or immunofluorescence for simultaneous RNA and protein detection on the same slide. With this, we have arrived to the end of first session of this webinar and witnessed how wonderfully one can use RNAscope technology to validate the single cell results as well as to create a spatial map. Now, I would like to hand over the next session to Dr. Suruchi. Thank you.
Cell heterogeneity that is important in disease pathogenesis and that would be obscured in a bulk level measurement. For example, if you take a heterogeneous tissue, single cell tools could measure distinct gene expression profiles for each cell and reveal heterogeneity in cell identity using phenotypic markers or heterogeneity. In contrast, the same sample run through a bulk measurement tool would not be able to tease apart the heterogeneity in the sample since all the cells would be pooled and average expression is measured. With bulk analysis, heterogeneity or cell-to-cell variation cannot be understood. A growing number of single-cell tools are emerging that are bringing new insights into the heterogeneity that exists throughout biology, especially in the fields of cancer, immunology, and stem cell, where heterogeneity is prevalent. These novel biological discoveries are leading to high-impact publications. With an emergence of powerful tools to do single-cell RNA sequencing, more and more scientists are doing single-cell RNA sequencing studies to uncover heterogeneity in gene expression. The output of a single-cell RNA-seq experiment provides novel gene signatures measured at the RNA level that are associated with specific cell types or conditions. For example, your single-cell RNA sequencing experiment might identify specific subpopulations like hematopoietic stem cells, neutrophils, T cells, NK cells, and B cells, and then show up or down regulation of specific genes within those cell types in normal versus disease samples. These can lead to novel discoveries and hypotheses. But how do you validate these new hypotheses? To have confidence in the biological significance of these expression signature, researchers need to validate these observations with independent methods to ensure they are making accurate and complete conclusions about their samples. So how do you validate the biological hypotheses formed from your single-cell RNA-seq experiment? Well, we all know that proteins are the physical building blocks of cells, comprising the majority cell mass and carrying out most cell functions. Measuring protein expression and modification is important for obtaining an accurate snapshot of cell state and function. Because proteins form the foundation of cell function and behavior, we need to validate gene expression signatures at the protein level. We know that cellular mRNA levels do not always match the levels of functional protein in the cell because the translational and post-translational regulation. For example, microRNAs can inhibit translation of mRNA. Protein can be degraded by proteases or proteasomes, and proteins can be modified by post-translational modifications like methylation, phosphorylation, etc. In fact, studies show that only 40% of cellular protein levels are directly proportional to the mRNA concentration. You can see here that 3 different genes across a variety of cell types are correlated. In the first 2 cases, the protein and RNA expressions correlate, whereas for ZFP42, the protein and RNA is not correlating. So it is really insufficient to draw conclusions about cellular behavior based on RNA data. Rather, by using RNA data to form hypotheses about cell function and protein data to validate active gene expression patterns, we can draw complete conclusions about cell function and behavior. As such, we believe that a complete and thorough cell analysis experiment follows the following workflow. So basically, you have a sample and then a single cell RNA-seq experiment is run to discover novel gene signature, which is then further validated at protein level. Western blots have been the gold standard method for measuring the protein expression in biological labs for decades. Just as Westerns have been the gold standard for measurements at the bulk level, single-cell Westerns are the gold standards for measuring protein expression at the single-cell level. That brings us to MILO. MILO is the world's only single-cell Western system. MILO brings the power and ubiquity of Western blotting to single-cell analysis for the first time. It provides Western-based protein measurement plus the heterogeneity information about your sample. To give you an idea of what MILO can do, MILO can perform 100 single-cell Western blot in parallel. It can multiplex up to 12 proteins. MILO offers time savings compared to the conventional Western blot. The total workflow is 4 to 6 hours with 3 to 4 hours of the hands-free time. And finally, MILO uses conventional Western antibodies, so you do not need any specialized reagents to measure your protein targets of interest. In fact, being able to use the huge commercial catalog available for Western antibodies makes it possible to do your experiments easily. So no matter what genes are discovered in your single-cell RNA sequencing run, you are almost guaranteed to find a Western validated antibody against that target. What do you need to run a single-cell Western experiment? So firstly, you need MILO, which is a benchtop instrument with a small footprint. Fluorescence microarray scanner, which is used to image the chips. SC West consumable kits, which has all the buffers you need to run your assay. The full assay is run within the SC West chip, which is based on cutting-edge microfluidic technology. Scout software automates the image processing and data analysis. As I mentioned, MILO is an open platform instrument that uses off-the-shelf antibodies for probing. Bio-Techne is the world's largest provider, and we have quality antibodies from our 2 sister brands, R&D Systems and Novus. You can also use your own favorite antibodies for your experiments. Our organization also offers word trust support to all the customers as you get started setting up the single cell Western experiments in your lab. You can use any open format microarray scanner to scan SC-West chips. A list of compatible scanners is available on our website. Scanners can be in core facilities or neighboring labs or facilities, since chips can be run and stored before imaging. If you don't have a compatible scanner already at your institution, we can bundle a scanner with MILO. You can choose from two options, a 2-color or a 3-color scanner. Both are the best in the market in terms of speed, sensitivity, and resolution. Both are open format scanners, so you can use them to scan SC-West chips as well as standard microarray slides. InnoScan 1100 scanner that has high enough resolution to be used for tissue immunofluorescence imaging as well. We have customers working with a wide variety of protein targets, including transcription factors, phosphoproteins, cell surface receptors, and even histones. We have a list of hundreds of validated antibodies to streamline your setup time for new assays. As with any immunoassay, some optimization may be required for new antibodies, and we have a tool, our 3-plex probing chamber, to help speed up this process for you in a single run. We are also happy to find a good antibody if your target is not available on our list. So how does the assay work? SC-West chip is a 1 by 3-inch glass microscope slide with a very thin polyacrylamide layer on the surface and 6,400 microvels patterned into the gel. We take a cell suspension and pipette it on the top of SC-West chips. MILO can run any non-fixed samples that you can get into single cell suspension, including suspension cells, trypsinized adherent cells, or dissociated tissue. From there, the cells settle by gravity into the microvels. We use a Poisson distribution to capture about 1,000 single cells in a chip and use cell concentration and settling time to tune the chip occupancy. Then we lyse the cells in the array and do an STS page separation on each single cell lysate. We then use UV light to activate a chemistry incorporated into the polyacrylamide gel to immobilize the protein into the gel, thus eliminating the transfer step of traditional Westerns. Then you can probe with conventional Western antibodies by diffusing them into the gel. We typically use an unlabeled primary antibody and a fluorescence secondary antibody, and then image the chip fluorescence using any open format microarray scanner. MILO runs 1,000+ single cell Westerns in parallel. Here you can see 1 by 16th of an SC-West chip, which contains 400 microvels and an array of single cell separation. If you look at the zoomed in image on the right, you can see 6 electrophoretic lanes with the microvels located at the top of each lane and electrophoresis occurring downward. In this view, there were single cells captured and analyzed in 4 of the 6 lanes. Each of these 4 lanes, a single cell lysate, and this particular chip has been probed with 3 different protein targets in 2 different spectral channels. The fluorescent plot on the bottom is generated by Scout, the image analysis software which identifies the 3 protein peaks at varying migration distances which are proportional to each protein's molecular weight. The Scout software can quantify area under the curve for each detected protein peak to yield quantitative information about protein abundance for each probed target in a single cell. Scout is a powerful tool to automate and streamline your image analysis. First, he finds all 6,400 lanes on each SC-West chip. Then, he automatically detects the peak in each lane. he can help with the molecular weight sizing by tracking migration distance of your proteins of interest within each electrophoretic separation. And then he can also give you area under the curve measurements to quantify target abundance for each target in each single cell. The single cell Western workflow is fast and easy to do. First, you load your cells into the SC-West chip and then you put the chip into MILO. MILO then lyses the cells in the array, does STS phage separations and UV immobilization step. And all this takes only 5 minutes to run. Then you take your chip out and probe it on the benchtop with the antibody probing chamber provided with MILO. Then you read out your chip with any fluorescence microarray scanner. Most people already have access to one of these scanners, and there is a list of compatible scanners on our website as well. We also sell 2 scanner options capable of scanning 2-color or 3-color experiments. No matter what your scanner, the output of the microarray scanner is a series of images of the chip. Scout reads these images, does the automated image analysis, and exports your data. The full workflow can be done in a single day in about 4 to 6 hours. MILO can measure 2 different kinds of heterogeneity. First, he can quantitate the heterogeneity in the amount of target in each of the cells in your sample. This is measured by looking at the variation in the peak area for your target of interest across the cells in your sample. MILO can also enumerate to quantify heterogeneity in the number of cells present in your sample that are target positive for a given target. This is useful if you want to identify subpopulations of cells in a mixed sample by tracking phenotypic markers. There are a lot of different ways to visualize your data. For example, when quantifying heterogeneity in target expression, you can create scatter plots of the peak area across multiple samples or chip replicates. You can also create histograms of the peak area to see distribution of expression. When enumerating, you can also create scatter plots and set thresholds to determine how many cells express a certain target or target combination. This can be translated into bar charts quantifying the percentage of cells that are classified as different subtypes based on the measured protein expressions. MILO is able to multiplex as well. This is an example demonstrating a 4-plex slide. Here we are showing data from a single cell, how we can measure 4 proteins in a single cell. You can multiplex with 3 different strategies. Firstly, you can spectrally multiplex. To do this, you can probe your sample with a cocktail of primary antibodies raised in different host species. Then just probe with a different spectrally tagged secondary antibody and image your chip in multiple spectral channels. In this data here, we use mouse, goat, and rabbit primary antibodies and then red, green, and blue spectral channels to detect 3 different proteins in this single cell. The second strategy is to use differences in the molecular weight of your proteins of interest to resolve them in the same spectral channel. In this blue channel, you can see that we probed with 2 different rabbit primary antibodies and the same fluorescent tagged secondary. The protein L858R and beta tubulin are sufficiently different in molecular weight that we can clearly resolve them in the electrophoretic separation. Third, you can strip and reprobe the chips. Once the sample is covalently bound on the gel, it is robust to numerous stripping and reprobing cycles. Up to 9 cycles have been shown in the literature with about a 50% loss in the sample. At that level, if you were detecting only 2 targets per cycle, you could do an 18-plex assay. Because we are lysing the cells, MILO can measure proteins irrespective of where they are located on the cell. This means MILO can simultaneously detect intercellular or extracellular proteins. This can be challenging to do with flow cytometry as it requires intact cells, and since cell surface epitopes can be destroyed during fixation and permeabilization steps. With MILO, there are no fixation or permeabilization steps like you need for flow cytometry. This allows researchers to use a simple workflow to validate gene expression for the targets discovered in your sequencing runs. The simple SC-West chips can also be archived. When MILO immobilizes the sample into the gel after electrophoretic separation, this process is very efficient and stable. As a result, the SC-West chips can be archived for up to 9 months and can be run later. This allows the researchers to introduce time delays into their experiment and come back later to reprobe their samples and ask new questions using the same samples. Getting most data out of your samples can be particularly important for researchers working with precious primary samples. The archival capability of SC-West chips allows you to significantly introduce time delay in your experiment. This enables a nice workflow shown here to get protein validation of single-cell RNA-seq data on the same sample. To do this, you can take half of your sample and do a single-cell RNA-seq, while the other half you can keep for single-cell Western. Then you can set your SC-West chips aside and wait until you get your sequencing data back. You can then find the antibody of your choice and continue with your single-cell Western experiments. Now I will take you through some of the publications that have used MILO. This is a customer that just published these results in Nature Communications. This customer was using single-cell RNA sequencing to measure expression of a cytokeratin targets in human breast biopsies. Her single-cell RNA-seq experiment identified 3 major epithelial cells, basal, luminal L1, and luminal L2. When looking at the keratin 8 gene, she could see that these subpopulations had discrete levels of KRT8. Some cells were expressing none of the target, shown in red, while some were expressing low levels of her target and some were expressing high levels, as shown by green. This had not been observed earlier in the literature, and she was looking for ways to validate this measurement at the protein level. She ran her cells through MILO and then got a data that was good enough to validate her single-cell RNA-seq data. As you can see from the figure, there are some cells with a negative expression for KRT8, while some have high and some have low expression for KRT8. Her work identifying and characterizing these subtypes is a part of Human Cell Atlas project. I also want to highlight that in this case, MILO's ability to quantify protein expression variation was the key in being able to differentiate these cell types. Being able to quantify target abundance and threshold between low and high expressing cell populations is very difficult to do using immunofluorescence or IHC. Coming to the second example, MILO is also being used to study heterogeneity in metastatic cell population. Yi Zhong, a researcher at Memorial Sloan Kettering Center in New York, is using MILO to study proteins at the single cell level to understand the heterogeneity among metastatic cells within a population. In particular, Dr. Zhong found that disruptions in TGF-beta and P53 signaling decreases metastasis. his lab has identified distinct signaling mechanisms that control metastasis to liver and lungs. He wanted to further understand these signaling differences across different cell phenotypes and first used single-cell RNA-seq to uncover RNA expression variation in primary versus metastatic sites. He has uncovered some new gene expression signatures that are altered in metastatic cells, but recognizes that RNA is a poor marker for understanding signaling because of the importance of post-translational modifications in signaling processes. As such, he's using MILO to measure differences in protein signaling that are not revealed by single-cell RNA-seq analysis. MILO enables him to carefully dissect the signaling pathways within these metastatic cell populations. In sum, his aim is to understand these signaling differences in greater detail with the goal of elucidating novel therapeutic vulnerabilities for metastatic pancreatic cancer. Another exciting study just published in Science by Dr. Maya and her colleagues at Duke using MILO and other single-cell tools to uncover a new cell type that enables the gut and the brain to communicate rapidly. They called this new cell type neuropods and found that they are responsible for rapid transmission of signal from gut to cranial nerves, establishing a gut-brain neuroepithelial circuit. Previously, only slow hormone-based circuits are known. In particular, they are using MILO to identify how many gut sensory cells are neuropod type and thereby contain the presynaptic protein synapsin-1, enabling them to transduce stimuli onto neurons. They analyzed enteroendocrine cells found in the gut epithelium on MILO and probed for synapsin-1. The single-cell analysis showed that a subset of endoendocrine cells contains the synapsin-1 proteins, which proves that these cells express the functional protein capable of forming synapses. In this figure, you can see two single cells with clear synapsin-1 expression, and you can see the distribution of synapsin-1 expression within the subset of synapsin-1 positive cells, demonstrating that this crucial machinery was present in this cell subpopulation was a critical piece of proof that these cells could form synapses. She could not have made this measurement at the bulk level because the presynaptic enteroendocrine cells would have masked by other cells in the sample. MILO is used by scientists to study wound healing. MILO is used by scientists to study wound healing as well. This paper just came out this year in Nature Communications from a group at UC Irvine. Here, they micro-dissected wound tissue, dissociated it into single cells, and then split the samples and ran through single-cell RNA sequencing and half through single-cell Western. The RNA-seq experiment revealed that many fibroblasts in the wound tissue also expressed hematopoietic markers. The single-cell Western data confirmed the presence of LIS-positive cells in the sample. Most cells were normal fibroblasts, but a small population of the fibroblasts co-express LIS. Quantification of this cell subtype using MILO revealed about 6% of the fibroblasts in the wound tissue co-expressed this myeloid marker. This validated their novel finding that wound healing recruits highly plastic myeloid cells that contribute to adipocytes regeneration. Here are some of the peer stories that we have on our websites and also tell about the customer experience using MILO. We also have a webinar by Dr. Brian Herman from the University of Texas on our website, which it is related to an ongoing website and talks about both MILO and RNAscope platform being used to validate single-cell RNA data. We have a lot of customers throughout the world using MILO, and we hope we will be able to talk to you more about MILO, and you will be one of them. Thanks for your attention. For any further details, you can contact me at this email ID or contact Dr. Amrita for questions related to RNAscope. Thank you.